When you think of Vegas, what comes to mind? Casinos, right? The Strip, the scorching sun. But for a long, long time, there was another picture. Endless green lawns. Well, that picture is being torn up, literally. We're going to dive into Southern Nevada's pretty radical plan to fight a massive water crisis by getting rid of its grass. So let's get into it.
So to really get why this is all happening, you have to ask a simple question. Where does the water even come from? And the answer is kind of scary. A full 90% of Southern Nevada's water comes from just one place, the Colorado River, flowing into Lake Mead. That's it, one source for pretty much everything. And you can imagine that creates a huge vulnerability, especially when that one source is in big trouble.
And oh boy, is it in trouble. I mean, a 2021 report from the Southern Nevada Water Authority's own committee didn't pull any punches. They said the Colorado River is facing the absolute worst drought in its recorded history. Think about this. Lake Mead's water level has dropped about 130 feet since the year 2000. This isn't some far-off problem we can kick down the road. This is a crisis right here, right now.
So, what do? How does a city in the middle of the desert fight back against a threat this big? Well, we're going to break it down into 5 parts. First, we'll figure out where all the water is actually going. Then, we'll introduce the main villain of our story, this stuff called useless grass. We'll look at the Cash for Grass program they're using to fight back, get our heads around the big 2027 deadline, and finally, see how anyone can join the effort.
All right, first up, where is all this precious water actually going? It's so easy to point fingers at the famous resorts or all the golf courses, but the real story, it's a little different.
Okay, so this chart right here really tells the story. You might think, oh, it's all the showers and toilets, but nope. About 60% of the entire community's water is used outdoors. And here's the kicker, the really important part. Almost every single drop of water we use inside gets treated and recycled right back to Lake Mead. But the water we pour on our lawns and gardens? Poof, it's gone, evaporated. It's a one-way ticket out of the system. That means the single biggest place we can save water is right outside our front door.
And that brings us to the main culprit in this whole story, a concept they're calling non-functional turf, or maybe more bluntly, useless grass.
So what in the world is non-functional turf? Well, the official definition is basically irrigated grass that doesn't really do anything. You know what I'm talking about. It's that grass in the median of a busy road, or inside a roundabout, or that little skinny strip of green between the sidewalk and the street. It's just there. It's purely decorative, and man, is it thirsty. It provides zero recreational value. Nobody's having a picnic on.
And the scale of this is just huge. We are talking about nearly 4,000 acres of grass at places like businesses, HOAs, and government buildings that's considered non-functional. That's the stuff this new law is going after. And all that ornamental grass, it drinks up a staggering amount of water every single year.
Just to make it crystal clear, let's put these side by side. On one hand, you've got functional turf. That's grass you actually use. Sports fields, parks where your kids can run around, school playgrounds. Then you have non-functional turf. That decorative stuff in street medians, in front of an office park, or at the fancy entrance to an HOA. Here's a good rule of thumb. If the only person who ever walks on it is pushing a lawnmower, it's probably non-functional.
Okay, so convincing thousands of people to rip out their lawns is a tough sell. That's why the Water Authority created a really powerful incentive program, one that basically turns this whole challenge into a pretty sweet financial opportunity.
And the incentive to switch? It's pretty powerful. We're talking about a rebate of $7 per square foot for residential customers. So if you decide to replace that thirsty grass with some beautiful desert landscaping, they'll literally pay you to do it. $7 for every single square foot. That can add up fast and cover a huge chunk of your project.
But wait, there's more. On top of that, you get a $100 bonus for every new, qualifying tree you plant during the conversion. And that's a really key point. This isn't about turning your yard into a barren rock garden. It's about creating a smart, sustainable landscape with shade trees, which are absolutely crucial for staying cool in the desert heat.
And beyond that initial cash in your pocket, the long-term benefits just keep coming. You're talking about lower water bills forever. Way less time and money spent on mowing and maintenance, fewer pests to deal with, and you pretty much eliminate the risk of getting hit with those water waste fees. It's a win-win-win.
But this whole thing isn't just a voluntary program with a nice rebate. Nope. For a huge part of the community, the clock is officially ticking on a mandatory change.
So this all got serious back in June 2021. That's when the Nevada legislature passed this landmark law, Assembly Bill 356. A few months later, in early 2022, the final recommendations got approved, and that's when they set the hard deadline, January 1st, 2027. You heard that right.
After that date, it's actually illegal to use Colorado River water on this non-functional turf. Okay, so right about now, every homeowner watching is asking the exact same question. Does this mean I have to rip out my front lawn?
And the answer, let me be very clear, is no. The law does not apply to single-family homes. So your front yard, your backyard, they're exempt. You're not being forced to do anything. But, and this is a big but, that really generous rebate program is available to you. So for homeowners, this isn't a mandate, it's an opportunity.
So who does have to make the change? This table breaks it down. As you can see, the law is smart about it. It makes allowances for functional grass, at schools and daycares, or for active recreation in an HOA. But for most commercial and industrial properties, that decorative grass is living on borrowed time. The law is really targeting businesses, HOAs, and government properties with that purely ornamental stuff.
All right, so let's get to the good part, taking action. How do you actually do this? How do you make the change and get paid for it? And here you can see the difference it makes. You go from a thirsty lawn to a really beautiful water-smart landscape. It's about shifting from high water use to high efficiency. And what's amazing is that a landscape with dense plantings and shade trees, it doesn't just look great. It actually uses less than half the water of a traditional lawn and can keep the areas around it anywhere from 10 to 25 degrees cooler. That's a game changer.
And getting this done is actually pretty straightforward. Here's how it works in 5 steps. First, you apply online. Now, this is super important. You have to apply before you tear out any grass. Can't stress that enough. Second, someone from the water authority comes out for a site visit to measure everything. Third, you do the fun part. You convert your landscape. Fourth, you schedule a final inspection. And fifth, you get paid. That rebate check shows up right after the final sign-off.
So when you boil it all down, it really comes back to this one big question. For decades, right, the perfect green lawn was a symbol of success, of making it. But in a desert city that's being pushed to the brink by drought, Las Vegas is being forced to completely rethink that idea. It's making everyone ask, in a place that's defined by sand and sun, what is the true cost of keeping things green?